Okay, this is my political section. The other one you saw was maybe political philosophy, but this is just more politics. Don't have very many here, but here's Sowell's The Quest for Cosmic Justice. This is supposed to be very good, and I'm going to read this one soon, but I'm going to read his The Conflict of Visions first, which is the next one. I guess I can do that one next. The Quest for Cosmic Justice. So that one is about, for example, like take the issue like of equality. Are humans equal? Are we all equal? Saul would say that those who are trying to force human beings to be equal will continue that quest, because they think that will be ultimate justice if we can all be equal, even if it's impossible, even if we all have different skills and we have different interests and we have different abilities and intelligence, and we have different amounts of time that we can dissuade benefits. So some people will take much longer to get a benefit. Others will want the benefit now, even if it's a smaller benefit. They won't invest into something and get a better benefit out of it. There's all kinds of things that make us different. But some people believe that no, that we should, that yes, we are flawed, but the perfect state, or the perfect utopia, is in which all human beings are equal and are made equal. So that's the Marxist kind of tradition of the people who are extremely productive and extremely able, for whatever reason, they are going to work hard and do what they're supposed to do, so that others who are unable or disabled or less abled can live the same kind of life that the others do. So the quest for cosmic justice is to remedy that. But that's just one issue. That's the issue of equality. But you can think about, there's other issues, of course. So that's what that is about. Or at least that's what I think it's about. Here's The Conflict of Visions. Ideological origins and political struggles. So if you've ever been called political, keep in mind that the other person who disagrees with you is also political. They're also being political. Conflict of Visions shows that people in their beliefs on how society should run, or the ideals that one should seek, which is usually people on the left think that, well, we have to get this utopia going, that things are unfair or unjust, and then we need to move in the direction of justice no matter what. Whereas people on the right more believe, and this is, I'm taking this sort of from an interview that Sowell did. I'm probably butchering it, but Sowell said that people, more conservative types, believe that no, we'll never get a utopia. Things will always be somewhat problematic. You will always have, there'll always be trade-offs. So that is less idealistic, more realist, perhaps, or something. But anyways, this book is, I'm going to be reading this, like, maybe not tonight, but soon, tomorrow. That they're in conflict, and they cannot be done together. And that the ideology you can define as someone who believes in something no matter what, that they will not change their mind, that this is their goal, and they will seek that goal to their death, so to speak. They're just inherently, they'll never get there, and in the struggle, they will also be harming the rest of us in doing that. So that is what that one's about, I think. Well, we'll find out, or I'll find out. Okay, here's Liberal Fascism by Goldberg. I actually recently saw him on, he was being interviewed, I don't know by who now, I can't remember. I never thought of looking up the author, though. I read about half of it. It just talks about how fascism, it talks about pretty much World War II and up, and it talks about Mussolini's fascism was actually communism, pretty much. It's just that the Soviets at the time told the world that do not call yourself communist unless you're doing what we're doing. Or no, don't call yourself communist unless you are part of the Soviet Union. And so Italy's like, well, we don't want to be part of the Soviet Union, so they renamed themselves to fascists. Now, I don't know if that's right or not, but I don't know why they would care what the USSR thought at the time. But how I look at the political paradigm is, if you're left, you're for government. Government is a virtuous institution. Government will solve all our problems. First solution is government, that kind of stuff. And the further you go along that is the further you believe in that. The further you believe that the government is the solution. And that's how once you interact, we should interact through our communities by force, or we should get, the majority should rule, and it should be backed by force and things like that. People on the right, which are often attributed to religion and conservatism and things like that, I portray the right as less government. So the extreme of the right would be anarchism. Whoops. The extreme of the left would be communism, or not even that. It would be like a totalitarian state. It would be like 1984 or something. So fascism was left. I don't know why people think it's right. Hitler's Nazi Germany was left. It's government control. How would you define right in that circumstance? So, and theocracies are left. They're government control. I don't like that, so I do it anyways. But other people, I think the traditional line is that left is social control. Usually left is considered liberal in that there's social freedoms but economic sanctions, economic controls. But communists, the extreme of left, is communists, and they're in control of everything. They're in control of social practices, absolutely. So, but usually the right is considered conservative and usually religious, and they'll be like banning burqas, and there'll be no gay marriage, and there'll be that kind of stuff, like social conservatism. But then fiscal freedom, so money, you can less income tax, less taxes, less government. But I think I think left and white can be done better if it's government control versus freedom. I think it'd be a better paradigm. Rather than as is now, what do you want? Do you want fascism or communism? Well, come on. That just seems ridiculous. Okay, I missed one. Here's Ron Paul, the only Ron Paul book I have. Foreign Policy of Freedom. This is probably not going to be something that people will want to read. It's going to be probably fairly boring. I have read this, though. I thought it was pretty good, because what it is his statements before Congress since like the 50s or something. Let me see. It's pretty good, but I think a lot of people won't like it. 76. That was way off. Really? 76. Yeah. 76. I guess he's not that old. Although, yeah. 76. 76 to like 2000 something. It just 2005. It has his statements to Congress from 1976 that we have a problem in the country. We're going to be in debt, and we are going to have terrorist problems because we're pounding the Middle East with bombs, and it just seems like Ron Paul had a lot of good things to say in 1976, and it'd be nice if the U.S. listened to him at that time. All right, here's William Gairdner's The Trouble with Canada Still. A Citizen Speaks Out. So this is about Canada, of course. But the second edition, I've read this. It's very good. It talks about Canada, and it talks about all kinds of different stuff. Talks about the government. Talks about, let me see here. Talks about freedom. Socialist reaction to democratic capitalism. Political parties up in Canada. Welfare. Radical feminism. Apparently they get a lot of government money. A lot of government money. Multiculturalism, talks about that one too. That's a separatism. There's always been problems with Quebec in Canada. Even recently, Quebec had an election, provincial election, and put in a separatist party. And so we're wondering what Quebec's going to do, if they're going to have another vote. For those who aren't Canadians and don't know, we had a referendum vote, and that was for Quebec to leave Canada, which would be crazy. I don't know what would happen. Would the U.S. just annex Quebec? Probably not, because they probably wouldn't want them. And nor would Quebec want to be annexed by the States. But Quebec would never survive on their own financially. They get a lot of federal money. So I don't think that'll ever happen. It's a bunch of crap. Here's Shakedown by Ezra Levant. And yes, the title's backwards. They did that on purpose, or upside down, I mean. This is about government and human rights and things like that. You may know Ezra Levant. He's a Canadian free speech advocate and human rights advocate, I suppose. But it's a little bit of an irony there. He was brought in front of the Canadian Human Rights Commission, or it was the Alberta Human Rights Commission, the provincial. We have these human rights commissions in Canada that have no jury, that are not appointed by anybody, like not appointed by the public. They're just these. It's injustice. It's crazy, and so he railed against the human rights commissions in Canada as being not fulfilling the Bill of Rights and all this stuff. So there's been a humongous amount of flack about human rights commissions in Canada. So they're starting to be decommissioned, which is a good thing, because they're ridiculous. Okay, here's William Buckley Jr., some old conservative that you may know of. The Governor Listeth. I don't know what it's about. I remember it's got a page missing, which annoyed me. Yep, right there, that one. I don't know what it's about. I think it's just about his ramblings of his stuff. But he is an old conservative, and I don't know if I'll learn anything, but oh well, we'll see. I got this from my library because they were throwing it out. Canada in the United Nations. Who knew that Canada made a difference in the United Nations? I didn't. I guess they do. There's studies in the theory of imperialism. I don't know what that's about. I know what imperialism is, but I don't know what line they take, because often it's, especially in academia, you hear about decolonialism. You hear about like imperialism is bad, and we shouldn't be putting our languages into cultures. We want to give them federal aid, though. We want federal aid, but no. We don't want to. We don't want to force our culture on these other nations, but we do want to give them federal aid. It's a giant contradiction, but who cares? It's that kind of movement, anyways. Let's see. I just want to know if they take what line they take here. Talks about Congo and Vietnam. I'm not sure. I don't know. All right, a couple left here. Man, the State and War by Waltz, a theoretical analysis. I have no idea what that's about. What are the major causes of war? I don't know. I do know that I do know one writer. His name is DeMoss. Lloyd DeMoss believes that the cause of war is child abuse. How about that one? So there's a book he wrote called, History of War and Child Abuse, something like that. Lloyd DeMoss, that's an interesting theory. You should have a look at him if you're interested in that at all. Here's another book by Sowell, Knowledge and Decisions. I've read half of this. Read it for a paper, actually, that I sent out to a conference. Maybe they'll accept it. Knowledge and Decisions talks about the cost of knowledge. Knowledge isn't free. Talks about different kinds of people. For example, people on the field. Like think about a business. People on the front lines in a business. They have specific knowledge. I'm trying to think what the two terms were. I know one was general knowledge. I think it might have been specific knowledge. They have specific knowledge about the daily workings of the business because they're on the floor. They're there. They know what's going on. Like think of like the store manager. They know exactly what's going on, and perhaps even the clerk would have even more specific knowledge. They know the kinds of customers that are coming through and the kinds of things they're buying and stuff like that. They see these things. The CEO in Toronto or in New York or something like that, in head office, what does he see? He only sees general knowledge because he'll see the reports that come through. Everything, all the knowledge is concentrated into these charts and tables and stuff. So all he sees is general knowledge. General knowledge is easy for him to obtain because he's got all kinds of infrastructure, all kinds of reporting methods that construct these tables and these graphs and all that, so he can see the general knowledge. But for him to go and get specific knowledge, he would have to go to that store, sit there for a day, and get it. That's far more expensive for him to get this specific knowledge than a clerk who'd be doing the regular job. So that has ramifications for, and I took the line of schools. I was talking about schools with this. But that has ramifications for business as well as schools, especially if you're going to centrally plan. And I talked a bit about that. If you're going to centrally plan, how are you going to do that? Because what you want to do, to have any kind of efficient central planning, you need to have people at the top making the decisions have all the specific knowledge. But you can't do that, or it's insanely costly and thus insanely inefficient. Geez, what else can I say? Maybe I shouldn't say any more. Decision making. I can't think of anything else about that. But anyways, that's a good book. It's a good book. It talks about, there's economic. He separates economic, social, and, here it is. Oh yeah, it talks about trade-offs. That's really good. Economic, social, and political. And he talks about trade-offs. And I can't think of anything off the top of my head now. But I think everyone understands what a trade-off is. But anyways, that's a really good one by Sowell as well. All right, that is politics.